Welcome back to Son of a Glitch, and here we are playing Marvel's Spider-Man 2, a game filled with everyday superheroes that can levitate, or just walk through walls. Oh boy, they sure do like to walk through walls. I mean, look at this, it's like that fence isn't even there. Ah, the old G major hand through the fretboard chord. Yeah, I like that one, that's yeah, you're not doing that right. Ah, another beautiful day in the Spidey neighborhood where everybody leaves their house at the exact same time as you. So it turns out if you go to this point on the map, you'll see multiple NPCs leave these doors and then just kind of stand there. But then if you face the camera away or leave the area and then come back, you'll find that more people come out of these doors and also just kind of stand there. Keep doing this and you get quite a collection of NPCs just standing there. It's really weird, and I don't know why this is happening. This feels like the world's strangest outdoor concert. Ah, they didn't let you guys in, huh? You know, you're never gonna find Spider-Man just wandering around in circles like that. Sometimes you'll be fighting an enemy and they'll just stop working. They'll just give up. I guess we're not doing this anymore? Okay. Ah, that's kinda cute. This guy thinks I won't punch him through a wall. How did you even get in there anyway? Oh, well, doesn't matter. One of my favorite things is when you take down an enemy, they get flung into a wall and end up hanging by their legs or their head or some other weird appendage. It happens so often, but it never gets old. Oh, whoa, sorry about that. Didn't mean to drop a limo on you. There's a photo op where you have to take a picture of these two playing chess, and if you jump by them and land in just the right way, there's a chance an NPC might fall into the lady and push her away from the table. Seriously, Spider-Man is not the only superhero in this game. She's out here playing 4D mind chess. Let's move on to talking about cars in this game, and one thing you'll notice about the cars in this game, they don't act right. I don't remember cars being able to drive through sand. When you can't afford the car, but you just gotta get to work. I love how every car is a dune buggy with amazing four-wheel drive. Sir, burying your head in the sand is not a great way to deal with your problems. Ah, yeah, that's right. I give you great advice and you just drive off through the sand, like normal people do. At another part of the city, you can find this arrangement of cars, and other people's flagrant disregard for the laws of physics. That is completely how cars work, just right there. You ever tried this? Just drive over a car, it'll do it. It happens. From cars to boats now, and if you ever try to attach a web line to the back of a boat, some very interesting things are gonna happen to Spider-Man. Very interesting. The web line will behave as normal to a point, but once Spider-Man reaches the very end of it, he'll begin doing some very strange walks. Like this bizarre leaning forward tippy-toe walk, or my favorite, the contortionist legs inside the body walk. Or he might not walk at all and just glide across the water. Point your little tippy toes, Spidey. So graceful. Eventually, you will catch up to the boat that you attach the web line to, and the fun will be over, but you can just do it again. And again. Boats aren't the only ways to mess with Spidey's animations, there are also bikes. You ride a bike a couple of times in the game, but there's one bike on the map that is always there that can be ridden at any time. And as you'll see, there's something about this that tells me the devs didn't actually intend this to be here. For example, if you ride the bike to Midtown High School, which is not too far away, you'll find a subway entrance, and riding the bike down there immediately breaks Spidey's arms. He'll run around as if he's still on the bike, or at least his arms are still attached to the bike, and carries over to every single different animation that Spidey has. Running, jumping, swinging, using the web wings. It's all pretty broken. If you use L1 and R1 to grab something, it also breaks Spidey in a different way. He's riding an invisible bike, ladies and gentlemen. That is a very interesting run. Spider-Man always has time to take a selfie with his fans. Oh dear God. You can also ride this bike into a fight, which has some pretty entertaining results. Well, I was not expecting that. Can anybody help? I'm kinda stuck. Now, even though the bike is always spawned in that location, you can only ride the bike so far before it despawns. And the same thing applies to this glitchy arm thing. If you leave the radius of where the bike is spawned, things will return to normal. Well, within reason. I mean, is there a normal after seeing this? I didn't think so. Well, it's not about to get any more normal as we head to our next glitch, which involves this bush. For some reason, Spider-Man can't actually land on top of it and ends up doing whatever you think this could be. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it looks stupid and hilarious, so I'm okay with that. If you've ever wanted to get really high with Spider-Man, I got a glitch for you. Head to this part of the map and you'll find one of these chairs and simply knock one over and stand on top of it. If you stand on it in just the right way, Spider-Man will exert the same kind of force downward that the chair is trying to push him outwards, which kind of balance each other out, at least that's what I think is happening. Anyway, for some odd reason, it will start pushing Spider-Man upwards. And now, Spider-Man will go high into the air, leading to some pretty amazing views if I'm completely honest. Sometimes though, you can get kind of wiggled out of this and Spider-Man will fall back to the ground, but you can simply try it again. Now, I did have another version of this where the chair was able to push Spider-Man kind of sideways, and it kind of reminded me of that Zelda glitch with the bombs. You know the one, probably. I know what you're thinking, does any of this have a point? No, it doesn't. One of the strangest glitches in the entire game is this glitch where you can pick up any texture around the world with Miles' suit. And the really cool thing is it's super simple to pull off. Pause the game, then go to settings, and then go to shortcut number 1. Choose toggle contrast options and then go to accessibility. And here, change the hero shader to white. Back in the game, you'll now see that you're white due to the hero shader, and now press up on the D-pad to use Miles' cloaking ability. Now open and close the map, and then finally press left on the D-pad to get this completely white textured suit. And this is essentially the glitch. Now just wander about the world, and brand new textures will be assigned to Miles' suit. And you can find some really weird and wonderful variations of the suit, and some of them a bit stranger than others. This one gives "kiss my butt" a whole new meaning. Some of them, however, are really pretty cool. What are you telling me you don't want to be a see-through metal man? Honestly, this is one of those glitches that you just have to try out for yourself while you still can. At one point in the game, you'll be chasing Black Cat across New York because she opens these portals that take you to different places, including Antarctica. Now, the idea being you fly right through there and emerge out the other side to arrive back in New York. However, we don't play by those rules, and it's actually possible to stay in Antarctica, but with some great effort. The game's gonna try and keep you out of the water, so you basically have to keep mashing circle until eventually you might land in the water. But if you do, the idea now being that you keep swimming past the portal and keep going forward. And once you swim beyond it, you'll still have limited control and you might still need to keep mashing circle to make sure you don't go into the portal, but eventually you'll gain full control and now it's a case of just keep heading forward. There'll be some weirdness with the shaders and lighting in this area, but soon enough that should figure itself out and suddenly you should come to the very outer edge of this whole thing and you'll see New York is underneath this. Basically, the first portal teleports you up into the sky where the Antarctica set is, and below this is a New York that has absolutely no collision, so if you fly down to it, you're probably gonna fall through the world. But I have to say, I spent a good half an hour exploring this, and it's fascinating and very clever how they pulled this off. It's time for a returning glitch, the Spider Cube glitch. I still have absolutely no idea how this happens, but it's always entertaining when it does. Sometimes the unlockable suits can get a little bit confused, I feel, and when they do, what happens is you end up with the default cube that you can swing around New York with. Functionally, it's exactly the same as controlling either Peter or Miles, but you're a cube. When you use the web wings, you can see the web wings. But where things get really comical is when you take down enemies as a cube. Or in this one mission where I had to take this dude to hospital, well, I mean, it speaks for itself. Nothing like having a limp, lifeless body swing through New York. Honestly, I cannot believe we're still seeing this same glitch in another game, but you know what? It's like a welcome from an old friend. A nice, warm, glitchy, cubey hug. You know, Harry's a pretty interesting character in this game. Never more so than when he's being whisked away accidentally before a cutscene, or standing on thin air just watching me fight. Or in this one instance, in one of my favorite parts of the game in Coney Island, there's a bench that if you sit on it in just the right way, there's a chance that MJ will push Harry forward, and his head will become separated from his body as he speaks. Don't worry, Harry, I knew you were ill, but I didn't think you were this ill. That's a whole other ailment right there. Luckily, though, it doesn't stick around for very long and things go back to normal. But I've seen it now, Harry. I can never unsee it. There's a really beautiful tribute in this game to Chadwick Boseman on Boseman Avenue and the Wakanda Embassy. I wanted to give that the gravitas it deserved because truly it's a beautiful moment. That sadly has a very entertaining bug attached to it. As you can hang upside down and activate this prompt and it still plays out the animation as it should, albeit upside down, it's when you try to escape this situation is where things get a little bit crazy. The game tries to put you on the ground but doesn't quite know what it's doing and you kind of, well, you do this. Don't mind Miles, he's just trying out a new walk with the top of his head. Seems to be working out great for him, to be honest. Most of the time I tried this, I ended up getting pushed through the ground and ending up in the river underneath the ground, which I wasn't expecting to be placed in. I tried to use the fast travel mechanic to fix this, and that actually didn't. The only way to fix it is to attach yourself to a wall, and then things kind of reset themselves. It all worked out in the end, and it was definitely a weird experience. Speaking of weird experiences, one of my other favorite kinds of glitches, visually anyway, is when takedowns go very, very wrong. This usually happens when you perform a takedown right next to a wall or an object and, well, it just kind of breaks reality. But oh man, is it strangely compelling to watch. The camera usually spins wildly out of control, but hey, Spider-Man still gets the job done. Another very unwelcome glitch that's always unexpected is sometimes you'll be swinging around New York City and then just end up inside a building, which is, you know, pretty cool from a glitchy perspective, but now you're completely stuck in this thing and the only way out is to restart your last checkpoint. Or sometimes building interiors just don't load correctly and you're stuck doing, well, whatever the hell this wants me to do, but it won't let me do it. How am I supposed to interact with a desk when there's no floor? I mean, the floating doors were enough, but this is too much. This isn't really what I have in mind when I think out of bounds. Thankfully, getting out of bounds in this game is so much easier than the last two games. Head to this part of the map with the train bridge and all you have to do is stand in front of the train and then the train will actually push you out of bounds. Now, those of you who have seen the previous Spider-Man episodes kind of know what to expect with the out of bounds. It's mostly low poly buildings with blurry textures for a while, and then it's these billboard buildings over a sea of nothing, and then it's mostly the ocean for ages, and then eventually you'll disappear. So it's maybe worth experiencing once or twice before they patch it out, but how about a more interesting out of bounds experience that lets you play as other characters? For instance, Peter Parker. If that's what you're looking for, there are two different ways you can play as Peter Parker without him being Spider-Man. The first way takes place during the mission where you're in the school with Harry. You'll reach this area of the school where if you turn around, you'll notice that these balloons go over the door, and for some reason, you're actually able to stand on them. What we're trying to do is get Peter to kind of crouch into the wall, and if you do this in just the right way, he'll get pushed to the right, and now you'll be inside the schools, but technically out of bounds. From here, we just need to keep heading forwards into this red area where we do a jump, come down from the ceiling, and kind of web into this space where Peter will now begin crawling, and there's a gap in the wall on the right that he can kind of fall out of, and this will now place you outside of the school where you're able to kind of jump around and use your webs, but the only downside of this is that only the area around the school is properly loaded in, so if you go any further out, you'll fall through the world. So it's kind of cool, but it's not exactly what we're looking for. We want to venture around the entirety of New York. In order to do that, we need this one specific mission called Photo Help, where Peter reminisces about this one time he took his first Spider-Man photo, and this takes us to a different part of New York where we can actually use the bike to get out of bounds. Once you reach the construction site, look to the left and you'll see this block of cement bags that you can actually kind of wiggle into, and if you do this in just the right way, Peter will be pushed outside of this area, and now you're actually free to cycle around New York. Our next step is to cycle about 2 minutes away to this part of the map where you'll find these docks, and cycling as fast as you can off the end of these will put Peter in the water but on the bike. If everything's going well, you should see that you can web zip to some of these surfaces, but don't do that just yet. What you want to do is go to these rocks, and what we want to do is have Peter stand up on both of his legs, and now we can actually web zip. Doing it this way means we'll have the ability to swing around and web zip and do all those cool things that Spider-Man is supposed to be able to do, but as Peter Parker. If you don't do it that way, you will still be able to run around as Peter, but you won't have any of the cool Spider-Man powers that you'd expect. So now you're free to explore New York as a regular person, but with Spider-Man powers. But Peter Parker isn't the only character you play as in this game. You can also play as other characters who also are able to get out of bounds and free roam. Playing as MJ, there's a section in her stealth mission where you can actually go to this backyard and you'll find this setup. By using MJ's sidestep dodge move, you can actually get her on top of this bird bath and also these bushes. And if you do this in just the correct way, it'll actually get you over the other side of the fence, and now you're able to free roam. You can venture all over New York as MJ with this rain effect going on, and it's really cool actually. Visually, this is stunning. Although at times you can see how this effect is kind of pulled off, but it's still really cool to see. You can also go around shooting random NPCs with your web gun. I'm sure they really appreciate that. I wanted to get over to the Brooklyn side of the map, but running just wasn't cutting it for me, so luckily I was able to get on top of a car, and that took me all the way across the bridge. I also got really curious and thought, I wonder if MJ can ride the bike. And the answer to that is yes, but her arms don't quite touch the handlebars, and well, you end up with this. On my travels, I also found this floating rock, which is, it's nothing to do with anything, but, kind of strange. We can also get out of bounds with Hailey. In her short mission, you'll find this area with the elevator, and if you go to the back here, you'll see a workbench with a toolbox next to it. It turns out she can very easily stand on top of this toolbox and get on the workbench, and then you can just walk off, and now you're out of bounds. Venturing through the surrounding area, I found you could play with the lighting because it's set up slightly different for her short mission. Either that, or she's some kind of sun god and we just didn't know about it. Now, Hailey moves incredibly slowly, so to get anywhere takes an age. To get across the river, I had to use this train bridge and then kind of turn left and around at the end to get anywhere. But you guessed it, I took her straight to the bike to see if she could ride it, and she could. But when I tried the arm glitch with her, it didn't work out so hot. She kind of got stuck. Really stuck. The final character we can play around with is surprisingly Venom. Now, originally, there was one way of getting Venom out of bounds to free roam, but that has since been patched. This entire area is now completely locked down with very strong invisible walls that kick you back inbound, so that's a no-go. But in this part of the game where you're trying to escape Oscorp Tower as Venom, if you run to the right-hand side of this corridor, you'll actually find it's very easy to just fall out of bounds. Now, the only problem with this version of being able to free roam as Venom is that the camera stays locked to Oscorp Tower, which in actuality is just a part of the building that's floating up in the air. But you do have the ability to visit most parts of the map and see whatever you want to see, which again, as Venom, is really cool. And you're also able to go to the Wakanda embassy to pay your respects. I really wish they hadn't have patched the original version of this because you could make it to the bike, and riding the bike as Venom is just as ridiculous as you'd think. But I think this is a really good place to wrap things up on this episode. I want to give a big shout out to my little boy, Elliot, the son of a glitch, for finding some of these bugs in his playthrough. And another shout out to Quackle Gaming for showcasing some of these glitches, which really inspired me to make this episode in the first place. And also to Papatrice for finding some of these glitches, which are really, really cool. Thank you to everybody who supports the Patreon. You guys are amazing, and I will see you guys in the next episode.